Hi, it's Miracle Mom and Michael.
Yes, it is. Sorry, I stick my finger in my ear and I think it's gross when I do that, so I should probably stop doing that on camera, right? I stick my finger in my ear on camera, and then when I watch it back, sometimes I'm like, oh, I stuck my finger in my ear? Really? How uncivilized. All right, so Mom, I have two more words. I'm going to say,
Okay.
so we just finished recording the Ravi Zacharias segment, which began with, I have two words for Mom, and she has no idea what they are. And I'm going to say them. I'll do the same here. Kobe Bryant.
Kobe Bryant.
Do those words mean anything to you?
Oh, yeah.
What do you know about Kobe Bryant?
I know that he's dead,
Mm-hmm.
and I know he played basketball. That's all I know about him.
Really? Well, then
Yeah.
this is going to be a segment where I get to talk a lot.
Oh, okay.
um,
I hope you're going to tell me he's a Christian.
I'm going to tell you some things. I'm
Okay.
just going to tell
Go.
you. I'm going to tell you my connection to Kobe Bryant.
All right.
I
Say it.
was. I was. So that was like in January, February. If you could look it up, find out when that was. So
Oh, okay.
just look it up and tell
Going.
me whenever. I'm going to talk. I have three children. Two of them are in sports. My middle child is a son who plays basketball. My youngest child is a daughter who is a soccer player and a track star. My son is 14 and my daughter is 12. And
January 26th.
yeah, it was late January. So that January 26th was a Sunday, I believe. Yeah, it was. It was a Sunday. And you know, I the soccer leagues have their games on Saturdays and Sundays. And so I was like, okay, I guess Sunday at 10 a.m. is when I'm usually in church, but I'm going to be at a soccer game because my daughter is one of the star. She's like the star athlete, one of the stars on the soccer team, and her not being there affects the team. Plus, it's like the finals or it's one of the rounds of the playoffs, so it's postseason. So I have this 12-year-old amazing athlete daughter that I am being daddy to, and I am living vicariously through her successes. She's just this incredible athlete, and I enjoy every second watching her run up and down the field. And the that day, January 26th at 10 or 11 a.m., in the middle of the game, a girl either trips, I think she tripped, or they both went for the ball at the same time. And like, you can stop a ball so quickly in the ground that if a person doesn't overpower you, that person's going to flip over and trip because they're putting their foot on a ball that just stopped suddenly. So it's what happened. Our
Yeah.
The girl on our team, they both went to the ball, and the girl on our team got to it like a split second before the other girl, and the other girl hit that ball. It was like a rock, and she flew and hit her. I thought she hit her head, and everybody else thought she hit her
Oh,
head. So the game was shut down for like a half an hour, and everybody, like, we're
wow.
like, "What happened?" It looked like and she didn't move. Like, she laid down on the ground and did not get up, and like an ambulance
Oh,
came.
wow.
That put a stretcher out, and it turned out it was like a broken collarbone, which
Oh,
was such a relief. We didn't know anything up in the stands, but
you broke your collarbone
I broke
once.
my collarbone when I was 9, so I was just a couple years younger than this girl, and I know what that's like. And yeah, you don't want to move, but at least it's not a concussion.
Yeah,
Your head is not smashed, and your brain is not like bruised.
right.
So I I remember the conversation. I remember talking to this couple, and I think I wrote it down in my journal, especially well. So the the game ends. Oops, my light just went out. There, the game ends. Um, we are victorious in the game or whatever. I mean, they finished the last, like, it took so long they didn't want to play the full game, so they just started at the final quarter or something, and we were up already by 2 or 3, and we ended up winning, and the game was over, and I go back, and at that time in my life, end of January, I was writing the script. I was like literally cut everything else out of my life. I wasn't even going to church. I took her to a soccer game, but I was like writing the script that I've been working on for the last 2.5 years. I finally was in that home stretch where I was actually writing the script after the research. And so I was, getting toward the end. And so this is January 26th. My oldest child opens the door. I'm in my bed. Like, that's the only place I could get away and write. I'm sitting in my bed writing. And the door opens. And my oldest child says, Kobe Bryant just died. And then she closed the door.
Wow.
And I sat there, and the first thing that happened, I sat there in silence, and a tear formed in my eye and streaked my cheek. And then I looked it up.
Yeah.
And Kobe Bryant was doing the same thing I was doing. My daughter's soccer game was 4 blocks away. His daughter, not 4 blocks away from him. My daughter's soccer game was 4 blocks away from my house. His daughter's basketball practice or tournament, was either practice or a tournament, was they helicoptered there every time they went to that. It was his gym. He lives in Southern Orange County.
Yeah.
He lives in Southern Orange County.
Mamba.
He lived in Southern Orange County and owns a basketball facility in Northern LA County.
Mamba.
And that facility, so he was being in his daughter's life. He was
Yeah.
supporting his child, being a
Yeah.
coach and a dad. And it took him dying for people to realize what it's like for a guy to repent of his infidelity.
You're breaking up a little.
For him to die in the helicopter, I don't know. I've heard people say that he even besmirched his name afterwards, saying, "Oh yeah, he was still a player, or he was still not player in basketball, but a player in the other, messing around."
Oh.
Because he was not faithful to his wife, and
He was a human being.
and I always got the impression that he had really turned his life around. I could be wrong, but on the day of his death, they stopped at Mass in Newport Beach. I think Newport Beach, the city. Before
Yeah.
they went to practice, they went to Mass.
Right.
He had his daughter in a house of God probably every Sunday. And that told me everything I needed to know about him. It just confirmed things to me that he was trying to be a good man.
Yeah.
And I had this weird sense of his presence. It was weird. And the reason I shed a tear was he was my favorite athlete, and my son started wearing his jersey and he didn't even know why. I said, "Why'd you wear Kobe?" He's like, "I don't know, I like Kobe." And it was clearly my influence, my interest in a sport and in a super athlete. Like, oh, I had this hero that I didn't realize.
Yeah.
I didn't realize what kind of hero he was to me. He was such a hero that his death transcended all kinds of barriers. Like, there were all these people who were fighting with each other over all kinds of nonsense. You know how people get into the media and into politics,
Yeah.
and they fight over all
Right.
kinds of nonsense. And his death transcended all of that stuff. People were, there were some Kobe Bryant naysayers. There were people saying stupid stuff in the wrong timing and
Of
stuff.
course.
That's always going to happen. But the unity that came about in the tragic death of a good man, and
Yeah.
that I was connected to him in I had it. I had a crush on him. I had a hero thing with this guy. He was like
Yeah.
a supremely talented athlete who went through some adversity, and I believe he recovered. Like it just seems like he thrived. He made some mistakes and was able to save his marriage. Some people will say, oh, it was.
Right.
Some people will say it was just a they put on a facade. But if a guy is taking his daughter, is in his daughter's life, and taking her to mass on Sundays, I don't think the mom is
Yeah.
protesting. I don't think the mom is complaining about that at all. So
No.
the guy was family dedicated, and so a week. Here's another thing. Oh, I want to show something to you. Do I have it right here? Oh,
Mike, it's what Ravi talked about. He
yeah.
said what we're lacking today is today in our world we're these are I'm paraphrasing, but
Mm,
he commented on that what we're missing is a lot of these models.
yeah. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. It's he was just saying, we don't have these hero models
Right.
around us
Good
like we
examples to
should.
follow. Right. Yeah. People to
He
emulate.
talked about that.
People to look up to. Yeah. And so Z, or my son, there, I just said his name. um, he fell in love with basketball at age 6, and I put Laker jerseys on him, and so I influenced him, and he fell in love with it, and I'm glad because it'll be something he can get exercise with, his whole life.
Yeah,
If you are a good basketball player, you'll be able to get exercise anywhere on the planet because all you need is a ball and a hoop.
yeah,
And so he has been on a couple teams, my son, and one of the teams he's on uh, plays tournaments at that Mamba gym. So
oh really?
he has been in that gym when Kobe was there. He's no, he was sorry. It was a different
Wow.
tournament at a different gym. He saw Kobe, but it's the same circuit. The basketball players around here, there's different big gyms that are all shut down now. But there's these big gyms that host um, just tournaments all weekend, and Kobe had that one, and we had been there, and so not only was I doing the same thing he was doing when he died, I was at that soccer game. Like that girl was laying on the asphalt or on the turf with the ambulance picking her up about the time the helicopter crashed. Right, that's about the time. So
Yeah,
I was doing the same thing he was doing. So I was identifying with a dad hanging out with his kids and
yeah,
taking him to a gym that I had been to. He just had to travel further, so they took a helicopter rather than the freeway. And
right.
and it was a weirdly foggy morning. I just remember even commenting on it ahead of time. It's like, wow, we had weird weather. It's like the temperature was high the other day and then it drops dramatically, and there's all this fog all of a sudden. So it was this anomalous weather event that led to his
Yeah,
his death. And so then my son has been there, and it just puts me so close to it. And then a week later we were at another tournament, and I just went out to my car to grab something and started talking to this other dad or this guy that was out there about Kobe. And it was only a week later, and it was like we mourned together, like we mourned the loss
yeah,
of a great man and hero. And they were leaving. I guess his kid was in the car already, and he and I were just chatting. And then, as I was going back into the gym and they were pulling away, the back window of the car rolled down, and a little kid's voice shouted out the window, "We love Kobe too."
yeah,
So, just to be tearing up even now as I remember it, because I haven't thought about it since then, but I wrote it down in my journal previous journal, like I finished that journal, this was months ago. I wrote it down in that journal that I wanted to talk about that with you on this show. When I first had the idea for this show was around that time. And I'm like, I want to bring up Kobe. And I hadn't even thought about it since then. And I got emotional. I'm glad I got emotional. So there, I got a tear rolling down my cheek right now on camera. So bleh. That's just the way it is. Living life, talking to my mom about the things that matter to me. So that's who Kobe Bryant was, Mom.
Well, when I listened to you talk about it, and I felt it, when that tragedy happened, I felt a spiritual
Mm-hmm.
connection to it. I mean, I wasn't a fan. Basketball has not been the sport that I followed,
No.
but there was something spiritual going on there. And I think we experienced that because he may have been born again. I mean, okay, you don't run around asking people, are you born again or anything, but
Yep.
when you're feeling that about a person and you don't even know them, that means something.
Interesting. And I did share in this clip earlier that I had this strange sense of
Yeah.
his presence.
Yeah.
Right? Like I could say that about Ravi Zacharias right now too. Like, oh, if
And
all,
I can too.
if all
I've
of
never
this,
heard of him.
right? If all of this that we believe turns out we were on the right path, like what we're believing is that unveiling
Right.
of ultimate truth, that um I did sense Kobe's presence because he was on that same path, right? We're all going the same direction. It means we're going to see each
Right.
other forever. It means, oh, yeah, that's a temporary thing. Kobe's body got mangled in a helicopter crash, but it's going to be reassembled or restored to him at some point, right? But he's still here,
Right.
right? He's listening even right now.
It's recognition. We're recognizing we're on a spiritual level, and it's
Yeah. I saw through glass darkly, but as more and
yeah.
more it clears up. It clears up as time goes on. It's like the inevitability. The truth reveals itself, and that's what this entire project, the
Right.
Tales of Truth thing that I'm working on. It's always had
Yeah.
that sense. I've always had that sense that I'm not doing anything. I'm just watching it unfold. I'm helping it. I have a role to play. I happen to. This is the role I'm supposed to play right now. Is to create this Tales of Truth thing and start telling this story. But the story itself is unfolding. Right. I didn't cause these things to happen. I just happen to be,
Right. Exactly.
seeing them and saying them and being, I guess, the vessel. Right. I'm the teller of the story initially, and other people will tell this same story. All right. I'm gonna do one more GoFundMe plea. Like, yeah, go to GoFundMe. Go to GoFundMe. Go and you know what you should do at GoFundMe? You should GoFund me. Right? That name. It's like if you go there, make sure you fund me. All right, I want to. Well, we've been going on for a while here. I said I was going to surprise you with something. I don't want to cut anything off my list. All right, I'm going to slate this right now. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.